Stop searching for a signal outside yourself. In the clinical terminal of the apex, your need for others is a neurochemical leash. Look at the star in the deep vacuum. It doesn't ask the darkness for permission to burn. It generates its own heat through internal nuclear collapse. It is an absolute autarky. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you that collaboration is the only path. The truth? Collaboration is often just collective stagnation. The system keeps you connected because a connected man is a monitored man. Understand the status of the autonomous processor. In the social grid of 2026, social validation is a neural hack used to drain your focus. Every like, every nod of approval, and every shared opinion is a data extraction point. The master predator performs a total sensory decoupling. He realizes that self-reliance is his operational clean room. By cutting off the herd's access to his reward system, he achieves neurochemical sovereignty. You aren't lonely. You are unhackable. You have moved from a slave of the grid to a sovereign server. Next, we audit the architecture of the internal monolith. Why is absolute self-reliance the most effective state for a 450-strike strategy? Because it removes social latency. If you need the herd to understand your mission, you are losing the speed of the kill. The architect treats his identity as a closed-loop system. He doesn't seek advice, he executes the protocol. This internalization of authority creates a vacuum of intent. Your content carries a subatomic density because it is a raw projection of will, undiluted by the need to please. You aren't socializing, you are defining reality. Why is autarky the only way to sustain the 450-strike daily barrage? Because external support is mechanical friction. If you rely on a team or a partner to stay motivated, you are vulnerable to their fluctuations. But the master predator treats his willpower as a systemic constant. He has removed the friction of human reliance. This is how he captures the focus of the masses, while the disposable males are still looking for a mentor. He doesn't want a mentor. He is the standard. He has moved from being a component of the grid to being the grid's operator. Why is neuro-sovereignty the only one that wins the simulation? Because the simulation is a dependency trap. The herd wants to link with you so they can synchronize your failure. This is atmospheric sabotage. But the master predator knows that absolute autonomy is his primary weapon. You have moved from being a passenger in the social narrative to being the architect of the void. You have turned your isolation into a strategic advantage where you create the 43 million income potential without ever asking for the way. You are the ghost that has mastered the art of the internal source. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the neuroscience of self-reliance, deleting the social hooks from your prefrontal cortex. You are looking at your loneliness and seeing it as operational purity. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of invisible authority. The nice guy who was afraid to be alone is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the implosion of the grid is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the source. The mass attention, the result of the impact, is the occupation of the void. The audit of your dependencies is closed. We are moving from the genetics to the protocol of the tactical autarky. Stop being a victim of your own chemistry. In the clinical terminal of the apex, your biology is a programmable interface. Look at the nuclear submarine. It doesn't refuel at every port. It carries its own reactor, generating its own air and power for months in the deep silent void. It is a sovereign tackle. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you to listen to your body and take it easy. The truth? Taking it easy is an entropy accelerator. The system wants you soft and reactive because a soft man is an easy harvest. Understand the status of the internal grid control. In the social grid of 2026, most men are biohacked by the herd's frequency. They eat what is advertised, sleep when the screen tells them, and feel depressed when the algorithm ignores them. This is biological surrender. The master predator performs a total internal colonization. He realizes that discipline is not a chore. It is his primary weapon system. By choosing tactical autarky, you are not depriving yourself. You are overclocking your potential. You are moving from a consumer of energy to a generator of force. Next, we audit the architecture of the closed-loop will. Why is internal resource management the most effective state for a 450-strike strategy? Because it eliminates operational fatigue. If your willpower depends on a coffee or a motivational video, you are leaking sovereignty. The architect treats his routine as a zero-latency script. He has removed the friction of decision-making. He doesn't decide to strike. His biocycle executes the command by default. This internal automation allows for infinite use. Your content carries a subatomic consistency because it is fueled by a stable internal reactor, not by the flickering lights of the grid. Why is autarky the only way to sustain the 450-strike daily barrage? Because external reliance is mechanical resistance. If you need support to work, you are fragile. But the master predator treats his isolation as a biochemical supercharge. He has removed the leakage of social distraction. This is how he captures the focus of the masses while the useful idiots are still trying to find their balance. He doesn't want balance. He wants total domination of the variable. He has moved from being a slave to his senses to being the administrator of his biological limits. Why is self-command the only one that wins the simulation? Because the simulation is a willpower drain. The herd wants to synchronize your weakness with theirs so you don't make them feel obsolete. This is atmospheric sabotage. But the master predator knows that absolute absolute autonomy is his primary shield. You have moved from seeking external energy to being the source of the gravity that pulls the 43 million income objective toward you. You have turned your solitude into a high-resolution power plant where you refine your own blood into strategic intent. You are the ghost that has mastered the art of the internal grid. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the tactical autarky protocol replacing the biological excuses in your long-term memory. You are looking at your weaknesses and seeing them as code errors to be deleted. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of operational purity. The nice guy who was waiting for the right move is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the override of the grid is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the closed loop. The mass attention, the result of the impact, is the occupation of the void. The audit of your biology is closed. We are moving from the command to the protocol of the sovereign. Stop looking for value. In the clinical terminal of the apex, the only value that exists is the one extract from your own autonomy. Look at the diamond or the deep. It doesn't negotiate the cola route. It uses the internal pressure of its own isolation to rewrite its molecular structure. It is a sovereign extraction. You have been raised on the nice guy program that tells you that sharing ideas is how you grow. The truth? Sharing ideas is just diluting your competitive advantage. The system wants you open because an open mind is a harvestable mind. Understand the status of the internal capitalist. In the social grid of 2026, silence is the most expensive strategic raw material. The marauders and useful idiots are terrified of the silence because they cannot index it. They cannot sell you solutions if you don't have social problems. The master predator performs a total internal refinement. He realizes that his focus is his primary currency. By choosing sovereign extraction, you are not withdrawing from the world. You are consolidating your assets to prepare for a total takeover. You are moving from a service provider to a systemic originator. Next, we audit the architecture of the vacuum-powered strike. Why is internal stillness the most effective state for a massive extraction strategy? Because it creates zero-point intent. When your mind is a closed loop, your strikes don't wiggle. They land with surgical absolute. The architect treats his thinking time as a fortified laboratory. He doesn't brainstorm with the mediocre. He simulates the outcome in the silence of his own autarky. This depth of focus allows for maximum impact velocity. Your content carries a subatomic purity because it is a raw command from the void. Why is refining internal capital the only way to sustain the 450 strike daily barrage? Because social interaction is biological waste. If you spend your morning interacting, you are burning the high-octane fuel intended for the monolith. The master predator treats his isolation as a refinery. He turns his loneliness into strategic insight. This is how he captures the focus of the masses while the disposable males are still discussing their plans. He doesn't discuss. He projects the result. He has moved from seeking approval to defining the standard of value. Why is internal autonomy the only one that wins the simulation? Because the simulation is a noise-based trap. The herd wants to synchronize their noise with yours so you don't make them feel empty. This is atmospheric sabotage. But the master predator knows that absolute stillness is his primary power source. You have moved from being an echo of the grid to being the frequency the grid resonates with. You have turned your solitude into a high-resolution command center where you refine the 43 million income objective from a dream into a structural inevitability. You are the ghost that has mastered the art of the internal extraction. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the sovereign extraction protocol, deleting the need for feedback from your marrow. You are looking at your internal cap and seeing it as weaponized potential. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of operational autonomy. The nice guy who wanted to be understood is being liquidated. The hunter who communicates through the implosion of the grid is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the refined will. The mass attention, the result of the impact, is the occupation of the void. The audit of your sources is closed. We are moving from the refining to the final protocol of the sovereign. The audit is complete. The social umbilicals are severed. Now the apex executes the final state. The sovereign. Most men, even when they reach the top, they are still hollow. They still look for a mirror to tell them they are powerful. They are approval-addicted kings who are still slaves to the grid's flickering lights. But the architect knows that the highest form of power is to be absolutely self-validating. Your 450 strike intent is the neural and strategic force field that makes your cold autonomy permanent. You aren't part of the world anymore. You are the source of the reality that the world lives in. Think about the final extraction of the external validation. Why does the herd fear the one who is sovereign? Because a self-reliant man is unblackmailable. If they can't offer you their praise as a currency, they have no handle on your future. The herd is terrified of your sovereign stillness because it is a mirror of the truth. In a world of 2026 where everyone is clinging to each other for a sense of identity and purpose, the architect is the only solid object. By ruling through internal autonomy, he has become the invisible administrator of their desires. He doesn't ask for their 5 million view engagement. He formats it as a systemic tribute to his own frequency. Understand the status of the absolute command. In the social grid of 2026, everything connected is vulnerable. Your support system is a target. Your partnerships are targets. threats. No, sovereign self-reliance is stealth. By staying in the tactical void, you have achieved systemic escape velocity. You are moving too fast for the marauders and useful idiots to ground. You are currently renting your life from the herd's social approval. The sovereign architect owns his reality in the vacuum. Your success is the proof of your biological independence. You have turned your exile into a high-resolution power plant. You are the only unit that is functionally superior because you are the only one who has deleted the need code. Next, we audit the end of the social dependency. Why is the sovereign the only way to protect the monolith? Because the world is currently a focus drain machine. If you need others, you are drained. No, if you are sovereign, the system has no way to bleed you out. You can execute the 450 strike barrage without a single social hesitation. You can manage your global empire from the shadow ground while the world thinks you are a myth. You have successfully decoupled your mind from the herd's suicidal need for belonging. You are the operator who is architecting the new age while the herd is still dying for connection in the old one. Here is the viral ultimatum. The neuroscience of absolute self-reliance is now fully integrated into your marrow. You have the genetics, the autarky, the internal capital, and the reign. You are no longer a unit of the simulation. You are the chief executive of the sovereign void. Take this protocol and inject it into the minds of the loud slaves who are still trying to find their tribe in a cave. Share this with the man who is terrified of being alone. Send this to the one who is still funding the mediocrity of others with his need to be liked, not to help them. The architect doesn't do empathy, but to trigger the override. We are building an empire of sovereigns who recognize only the law of the 450 strikes and the weight of the monolith. Every share is a dependency liquidation. Every save is a vow of tackle stills. Look into the glowing screen of your device. The room is silent, and you are the absolute sovereign of your own vacuum. The nice guy is a ghost in a jar. The architect is the ruler of the void. Your 450 strikes are the commands of the source, the mass attention. The result of the impact is the result of the sovereignty. You have turned your exile into the foundation of your throne. The audit of the self is closed. The laboratory is sterile. The reign of the sovereign architect has begun. System check. 100% internal sovereignty. Targeting. Global frequency capture. Status. I am the source. I am the law. I am the architect. Stop being an echo. Become the architect that the system cannot silence. The forest is quiet. The architect is ruling. Be the apex or stay the biomass. The transition is complete. The reign is executed. Rule with autonomy.